The complete works of Swami Vivekananda, Volume 1, Section 3, Patanjali Yoga Aphorism, Chapter 1, Shlok 8. It says, indiscrimination is false knowledge not established in real nature. The next class of vrittis that arises is mistaking one thing for another. As a piece of mother of pearl, it is taken for a piece of silver. Shlok 9th. Verbal delusion follows verbal delusion, that is vikalpa, follows from the words having no corresponding reality. There is another class of vritti called vikalpa. The word is uttered, and when we do not wait to consider its meaning, we jump to the conclusion immediately. It is the sign of weakness of the chitta. Now you can understand the theory of restraint. The weaker the man, the less has he has to of restraint. Examine yourself always by that test. When you are going to be angry or miserable, reason it out how it is that some news that has come to you is throwing your mind into vrittis. Shlok 10th says, sleep is a vritti which embraces the feeling of the voidness. The next class of vritti is called as sleep, that is nidra, and dreams. When we awake, we know that we have been sleeping. We can only have memory of perception, that which we do not perceive. We never can have any memory of it. Every reaction is a wave in the lake. Now, if during sleep the mind has no waves, it would have no perception, positive, negative, and therefore we would not remember them. The very reason of our remembering sleep is that during sleep there was a certain class of waves in the mind. Memory is another class of vritti, which is also known as smriti. Shlok 11th says, memory is when the vritti of perceived subject do not slip away, are through impressions and comes back to consciousness. Memory can come from direct perception, false knowledge, verbal delusion, and sleep. For instance, you hear a word. That word is like a stone thrown into the lake of chitta. It causes a ripple, and that ripple raises a series of ripples. This is memory. So, in sleep, when the peculiar kind of ripple called sleep throws the chitta into the ripple of memory, it is called as dream. Dream is another form of ripple which in the waking state is called memory. Shlok 12th says, their control is by practice and non-attachment. The mind, to have non-attached, must be clear, good and rational. Why should we practice? Because each action is like the pulsation que- quavering over the surface of the lake. The vibration dies out, and what is left? The samskar, the impressions. When a large number of these impressions, that is samskar, are left on the mind, they coalesce and become a habit. It is said habit is second nature. It is first nature only, and whole nature of man. Everything that we are is a result of habit. That gives us consolation because if it is only habit, we can make and unmake it at any time. The samskaras are left by these vibrations passing out of our mind, each one of them leaving its result. Our character is the sum total of these marks, and according has some particular wave prevails, one takes that tone. If good prevails, one becomes good. If wickedness, one becomes wicked. If joyfulness, then one becomes happy. The only remedy for bad habit is counter habits. All the bad habits that have left their impressions are to be controlled by good habits. Go on doing good, thinking holy thoughts continuously. That is the only way to suppress base impressions. Never say that any man is hopeless because he only represents a character, a bundle of habits which can be checked by new and better ones. Character is repeated habits, and repeated habits alone can reform character. Shlok 13th. Continuous struggle to keep them means the vrittis perfectly restrained is practice. What is practice? The attainment or attempt to restrain the mind in the chitta form to prevent its going out into waves, hmm, is called as abhyas or practice. Shlok 14th. It becomes firmly grounded by long constant effort with great love for the end to be attained. Restraint does not come in one day but all long continued practice. Shlok 15th. The effect which comes to those who have given up their thirst after objects, either seen or heard, and which wills to control the objects, is non-attachment. The two motive powers of our actions are what we see ourselves. Second, first is what we see ourselves, and second, the experience of the others. These two forces throw the mind, the lake, into various waves. Renunciation is the power of the battling against these forces and holding the mind in check. Their renunciation is what we want. I am passing through a street and a man comes and takes away my watch. That is my own experience. I see it myself, and it immediately throws my chitta into a wave, taking the form of danger or anger. Allow not, allow not that to come. If you cannot prevent that, you are nothing. If you can, you are vairagya, or you have achieved vairagya. Again, the experience of the worldly minded teacher use that sense enjoyment are the highest idea. These are temptation, tremendous temptation. To deny them and not allow the mind to come to the wave form with regard to them is renunciation. To control the twofold motive powers arises from my own experience and from the experience of others, thus prevent the chitta from being governed by them, is vairagya. This should be controlled by me and not I by them. This sort of mental strength is called as renunciation. Vairagya is the only way to freedom. Shlok 16th. That is extremely non-attachment which gives up even the quality and comes from knowledge of the real nature of the Purish. It is the highest manifestation of the power of Vairagya when it takes away even all our attraction towards the qualities. We have first to understand what the Purusha or Self is and what the qualities are. According to the Yoga philosophy, the whole of nature consists of three qualities or forces. One is called tamas, another rajas, and the third is sattva. So the three forces tamas, rajas and sattva. These three qualities manifest themselves in a physical world as darkness or inactive, attraction or repulsion, and equilibrium of the two. Everything that is in nature, all manifestation are combinations and recombinations of these three forces. Nature has been divided into various categories by the Sankhya's. The self of man is beyond all this, beyond nature. It is effulgent, pure, and perfect. It is effulgent, pure, and perfect. Whatever of intelligence we see in nature is but the reflection of self upon nature. Nature itself is insentient. You must remember that the word nature also includes the mind. Mind is in nature, thought is in nature. From thought down to the gross, from the matter, everything is in nature. The manifestation of nature. This nature has covered the self of man, and when nature takes away the covering, the self appearance in its own glory. The non attachment, has described in aphorism 15, has been control of objects or nature. It's the greatest help towards manifestation of self. The next aphorism defines samadhi, perfect concentration, which is the goal of the yogi. Shlok 17th. The concentration called right knowledge is that which is followed by reasoning, discrimination, bliss, and unqualified egoism. Samadhi is divided into two varieties. One is called as Sampradnya Samadhi and other the Asampradnya Samadhi. In the Sampradnya Samadhi comes all the powers of controlling nature. It is four varieties. The first variety is called the Savitarka. When the mind meditates upon an object again and again by isolating it from the other object. There are two sort of objects for meditation in 25 categories of the Sankhya's. First, the 24 insentient categories of the nature and one sentient Purush. This part of yoga is based entirely on Sankhya philosophy, about which I have already told you. As you will remember, egoism and will and mind have a common basis, the chitta or the mind stuff, out of which they are all manufactured. The mind stuff takes in the force of nature, projects them as a thought. There must be something, again, where both force and matter are one. It is called as avakash, ava- avayakta. It is called as avyakta, avayakta, avayakta. The unmanifested state of nature before creation, and to which, after the end of cycle, the whole of the nature returns. To come out again after another period beyond that is the Purush. The essence of intellect. Knowledge is powerful, and as soon as we begin to know a thing, we get power over it. So also, so also, when a man begins to meditate on the different elements, it gains power over them. That sort of meditation, where the external gross elements are the objects, is called as savitarka. Vitarka means question. Savitarka with question. Vitarka means question and Savitarka means with question. Questioning the elements has it where that they may give their truth and their power to the man who meditates upon them. This is no liberty, is getting powers. It is worldly such after enjoyment, and there is no enjoyment. Is this life? All such for enjoyment is vain. This is the old lesson which man finds so hard to learn. When he learn it, he gets out of the universe and becomes free and possesses position of what are called occult powers is only intensifying the world and is the end, intensifying sufferings. Though as a scientist, Patanjali is bound to point out the possibilities of the science, he never misses an opportunity to warn us against these powers. Again, in the very same meditation, when one struggles to take the elements out of the time and space and think of them as they are, is called as nirvitarka, without question. When the meditation goes a step higher and takes the tanmatras as its object and thinks of them as in time and space, it is called as savichar, with discrimination. And when in the same meditation one elements time, space, and think of the fine elements as they are, it is called as nirvichar, without discrimination. The next step is when the elements are given up, both gross and fine, and the object of meditation is the internal organ, the thinking organ. When the thinking organ is thought of as buried of the qualities of activity and dullness, it is then called the sananda, sananand, the blissful samadhi. Sa Anand, Sananand. When the mind itself is the object of meditation, when meditation becomes very ripe and concentrated, when all ideas of the gross and fine materials are given up, when the sattva state only of the ego remains, but differentiated from all other objects, it is called sasmita, sas, sa asmita, sasmita samadhi. Then it is called sasmita samadhi, asmita samadhi. The man who has attained to this has attained to what is called in the Vedas bereft of body. He can think of himself as without his gross body, but he will have to think of himself as with a fine body. Those that in this state get merged in nature without attaining the goal are called prakri, prakriti layas, called as prakriti layas. But those who do not stop even there reach the goal, which is freedom. Those that in this state get merged in nature without attaining the goal are called prakriti layas. Prakriti layas. But those who do not stop even there reach the goal, which is freedom. Shlok 18th. There is another samadhi which is attained by the constant practice of cessation of all mental activities, in which the chitta retains only the unmanifested impressions. This is a perfect super conscious sampradnya samadhi, a sampradnya samadhi, the state which gives us freedom. Asampradnya samadhi, the state which gives us freedom. The first state does not give us freedom. First state, that is, I think so, sampradnya samadhi. And the second stage, that is asampradnya samadhi, gives the freedom. The first state does not give us freedom, does not liberate the soul. The man may attain at all powers and at all fall again. There is no safeguard until the soul goes beyond nature. This it is very difficult to do so. Although the method seems easy, The method is to meditate on the mind itself, and whenever thought comes, to strive it down, allowing no thought to come into the mind, thus making it an entire vacuum. When we can really do this, that very moment we shall attain liberation. When persons without training and preparation try to make their mind vacant, they are likely to succeed only in covering themselves with tamas, the material of ignorance, which makes the mind dull and stupid and leads them to think that they are making a vacuum of the mind. To be able to really do that, it is to manifest the greatest strength, the highest control. When this state, sampradnya, asampradnya, or superconscious is reached, the samadhi becomes seedless. Asamprasamadhi is seedless. What is meant by that? In a concentration where there is consciousness, where the mind succeeds only in quelling the waves or in the chitta and holding them down, the waves remain in the form of tendencies. These tendencies or seeds becomes waves again when the time comes. But when you have destroyed all these tendencies, almost destroyed the mind, then the samadhi becomes seedless. There are no more seeds in the mind out of which to manufacture again and again this plant of life, this is ceaseless round of birth and death. You may ask, what state would that be in which there is no mind, there is no knowledge? What it we call knowledge is the lower state than the one beyond knowledge. You must always bear in mind that the extremes look very much alike. If a very low vibration of ether is taken as darkness, an intermediate state of light, very high vibration, will be darkness again. Similarly, ignorance is the lower state, knowledge is the middle state, and beyond knowledge is the highest state, the two extremes of which seems the same. Knowledge itself is the manufactured something, a combination, it is not reality. What is the result of constant practice of this higher concentration? All old tendencies of restlessness and dullness will be destroyed, as well as the tendencies of goodness too. The case is similar to that of the chemicals used to take the dirt and alloy of gold. When the ore is smelled down, the dross is burnt along with the chemical. So, this constant controlling power will stop the previous bad tendencies and eventually the good ones also. Those good and evil tendencies will suppress each other, leaving alone the soul in its own splendor, ultra melted, mel, ultra meld ultra meld by al- either good or bad, the omnipresence, omnipotent, and the omniscient. Then the man will know that he had neither birth or death, nor needs for heaven or earth. He will know that he neither came nor went. It was nature which was moving, and that movement was reflected upon the soul. The form of the light reflected by the glass upon the walls moves, and the wall foolishly thinks it is moving. So, with all of us, it is the chitta constantly moving, making itself into various forms, and we think that we are these various forms. All these delusions will vanish when what free when that free soul will command, not pray or beg, but command, then whatever its desires will be immediately fulfilled. Whatever it wants, it will be able to do. According to the Sankhya philosophy, there is no God. It says that there can be no God of this universe, because if there were one, he must be a soul, and a soul must be either bound or free. How can the soul that is bound by nature or controlled by nature create? It is itself a slave. On the other hand, why should the soul that is free create and manipulate all these things? It has no desires, so it cannot have any need to create. Secondly, it says the theory of God is an unnecessary one. Nature explains all. What is the use of any God? But Kapila teacher, or you can say Kapila Muni, that there are many souls who, thou nearly attain perfection, fall short because they cannot perfectly renounce all powers. Their minds for time merge in nature to re-emerge as its master. Such gods there are. We shall all become such god, and according to Sankhya, the gods spoken of in the Vedas really means one of this free soul. Beyond them, there is not any eternally free and blessed creator of the universe. On the other hand, the yogis say, not so. There is a God. There is one soul separate from all the other soul, and he is the eternal master of all creation, the ever free, the teacher of all the teachers. The yogi admits that those whom the Sankhya's call the merged in nature also exist. They are yogis who have fallen short of perception, and though for a time debarred from attaining the goal, remain as rulers of parts of the universe.